وصلاة ربي وسلامه ورحمته وبركاته على رسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue 6:48 p.m. Sunday, November the 17th, 2019. We're still in the month of Rabi' al-Awwal. Well, now it's today is the night of the 21st of Rabi' al-Awwal, the year 1441 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. As we continue in the chapters, it says, Ba ma ja'a fi at-Tatayyur, the chapter which comes in evil omens. And like we said, the meaning is more broad than just evil omens with the birds. Rather, any type of evil omen or belief in superstitions and myths and its effect on people. For all of this is from the affairs in which the great Imam al-Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, that he put this chapter in the book of Kitaab At-Tawheed in order to teach the people and enlighten them in these affairs which will harm them in their belief system and cause consequential reprehensible matters in this world as well as in the hereafter as a result of belief in them. As we started the chapters, it says, as the great Imam, he gives the evidences and proofs to substantiate what he writes in these chapters. As we finish the ayat in the book of Allah, as it came in Surah Al-A'raf and Surah Yasin, as we gather between the meaning of both the ayat as we discussed last class, as we said, the first ayah is Surah Al-A'raf, أَلَا إِنَّمَا طَائِرُهُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. The story what happened between Musa and his brother Harun, عليهما وعلى نبينا أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم ورضي عن أتباعهم. As you'll find what happened with Musa and his brother Harun and Fir'aun, as we discussed last class, the ayat which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about what happened with them in Surah Al-A'raf, ayah number 131. As you'll find that it says in the ayat, فَإِن تُصِيبَهُمْ سَيِّئَةٌ يَطَّيَّرُوا بِمُوسَى وَمَن مَّعَهُ, that if something good had befallen them, or if they were touched by some type of good, they would say, لَنَا هَادِي, as this belongs to us and we're deserving of it. We're deserving of it. If something good was to befall them, whether it be of the different ni'am or blessings that Allah has sent down and bestowed upon His ibad, upon His servants. As you'll notice in the ayat, they did not ascribe that ni'mah to Allah. Rather, you'll find that they say, we are deserving of that. As that in itself is a chapter which we'll discuss in Kitaab At-Tawheed. As we discuss in certain classes, ascribing a ni'mah to oneself is also from the affairs of polytheism. As you'll find, there are certain people out there have the belief that they say, for example, verily I was given this due to my own knowledge of this affair, or due to the fact that Allah knows I deserve it. That's from the i'tiqad, or the belief of the people of Jahiliyyah. You'll find there are people there, for example, they used to say, they ascribe the ni'mah to themselves. For example, due to the fact that I have been given the intelligence of business and acquisition, and due to my intelligence and my talent, I have what I have. As we'll talk about, there's a whole chapter discussing this. They're saying this is also from the affairs of polytheism, to a person ascribes that blessing to himself. Say, due to my acquisition and my hard work and my intelligence and my diligence, and all my knowledge of what they call wujuh al-makasib, all of my knowledge of acquisition and how to attain certain affairs, due to the fact that I am talented, or I am gifted, or I've been given great intelligence. All of this, what I have, this is all me here. This is due to me. I'm describing that ni'mah to himself. That's the reason why you'll find that Allah Ta'ala prohibited this in so many different ayat. One ayat is in Surah Al-Qasas, and the other ayat is in Surah Al-Zumar, which we'll discuss later. But just to sum it up, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says in His book that Allah Ta'ala talked about what happened with Qarun. إن قارون كان من قوم موسى فبغى عليهم وآتيناه من الكنوز ما إن مفاتيحه لتنوء بالعصبة أولي القوة إذ قال لهم قومهم لا تفرح إن الله لا يحب الفرحين وابتغي ما آتاك الله من الدار الآخرة ولا تنس نصيبك من الدنيا وأحسن كما أحسن الله إليك ولا تبغي الفساد في الأرض إن الله لا يحب المفسدين. ماذا قال قارون؟ قال إنما أوتيته على علم عندي. As Qarun was given all the different types of riches of this world, to the point they said that the keys that he possessed to his treasures used to weigh and be burdensome upon strong people who are in their stature. They're strong men. His keys were that heavy that they would have to be rendered exhausted from carrying. Those different types of keys to the treasures of Qarun, which is to let you know the abundance of dunya he was given. To make a long story short, it says in the ayah, Qarun said a statement where he said, إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ عِنْدِي. See all this I've been given? I've been given this because of the knowledge of what I have. So that is another type, which is a whole other chapter in Kitaab At-Tawheed that speaks about ascribing a ni'mah to yourself. Because from the benefits of knowledge, of believing or having a creed or firm belief that these affairs all return back to Allah, is to cut arrogance and belligerence from its root. Because from the benefits of ascribing these affairs to Allah, it cuts the root of arrogance and belligerence. So all these affairs are ascribed to Allah no matter what you have of good. Because the one who gave you the intelligence and the one who gave you the comprehension and the skills of you being dexterous or skillful in a certain affair, all that stuff is from Allah. No matter what you have, even the knowledge of acquisition and business and numbers and having certain things memorized, or be able to calculate certain things mathematically in your mind very quickly, and certain people was given that talent. But ultimately, all of it is from Allah. وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. There's nothing you have of anything of benefit or blessing except it's all from Allah. So all the belief of these affairs, it cuts the root of arrogance and belligerence, so that plant or that seed will not grow within the individual. So you'll find in some ayats, especially here, this ayat, what did the people of Shirk, what did they say? وَإِن تُصِيبَهُمْ حَسَنَةٌ يَقُولُونَ إِيش لَنَا هَذِهِ. If some good befall them, or if they was to be touched with some type of blessing or mercy from Allah, as it says in the ayat, Surah Al-A'raf, they said, this belongs to us. The ayat that I was talking about when you ascribe a ni'mah to other than Allah, you'll find that either the people were saying that I have been given this due to my own knowledge or my own skill. You'll find that another meaning of it is that people will have the belief that I've been given this because Allah knows I'm deserving of it. Allah knows I deserve it. Allah knows of my high status with Him and I deserve this. That's another type of belief of Jahiliyyah. So you'll find this was in the ayah, that this type of belief was present. What did they say? Any good befall us, we're the ones that deserve it. Right? This just says in the ayah. Then, a second affair, which we discussed last class, Notice they said another affair, which is from the affairs of Jahiliyyah and from the affairs of Shirk, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established their corrupt belief in omens and superstitions and beliefs, where it said, وَإِن تُصِيبَهُمْ سَيِّئَةٌ يَطَّيَّرُوا بِمُوسَى وَمَن مَّعَهُ. And if they was afflicted with an affliction, or some evil was to touch them, they would deem Musa to be an evil omen. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was establishing from the affairs of shirk and polytheism the belief of evil omens, where they would deem Musa to be the one who brought this evil upon them. And they ascribed the evil to Musa as him being the what? The reason or the cause of why they've been afflicted, why they were afflicted of evil or whatever it was during that time, whether it be of a drought or a famine. And as they say, وَهَلُمَ جَرَّةً, or so on and so forth. So you'll find that they said that we are deserving of this ni'mah in the one part of the ayah. And in the next part they affirmed the affairs of shirk, a polytheism they used to believe, which is affirming that they had the belief in what? In bad evil omens and superstitions, where they ascribed that Musa was the superstition, he was the omen. He was the omen that brought this evil upon us. Notice that it says in the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refuted them in his belief. As we know the Quran from the minhaj, the methodology of the Quran, which everyone needs to know, is that the Quran is filled with rudud. Al-Quran mali'un bil-rudud ala al-batil. You have to believe, and there's so many, it's too many to be counted and enumerated, of that the Quran is filled with refutations against falsehood. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the beginning to the end establishes the haqq and nullifies batil. That, and if that's the minhaj in which Allah has laid down for the creation, where He laid that down, notice that all the prophets and the messengers embarked upon the same methodology. And those who came after them from the righteous and from the ulama embarked upon the same methodology. And it will never stop. And that is from the true callers to success of the minhaj of the prophets and the anbiya, and the minhaj al-salafi is ihqaq al-haqq wa ibtal al-batil. Ihqaq al-haqq wa ibtal al-batil. That is from the prophets and the messengers and those who are the righteous and those who are truly, purely upon minhaj al-salafi. That they're the ones that set out to actualize the truth for it to be established and clear, and that they nullify falsehood and they make it clear. And if you see callers out there that never like to talk about affairs of shirk, and they don't like to talk about affairs of tawheed, or they don't like to talk about affairs of bid'ah, they always want to talk about, ya akhi, let's talk about what family matters and let's just go and bring what brings the good. And they do it with a smile. That is not the methodology of the prophets and the messengers, and it goes beyond that. That's not the methodology of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Quran has so much rudud and refutations against falsehood. The Quran is filled with refutations. Filled. From them is this story here. The story here what happened with Musa and his people. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the last part of the ayah, what Allah ta'ala said when He rebutted them in their belief, where He said, where Allah ta'ala refuted them by saying, He says, أَلَا إِنَّمَا طَائِرُهُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. He says, isn't it not their evil omen with Allah? However, the majority of them do not have knowledge of that. Well, they do not know. طيب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refuted their battle and their corrupt belief of evil omens. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, what took place amongst them was by Allah Himself allowing it to happen, بِقَضَائِهِ وَقَدَرِهِ. As we said, either by His pre-divine decree, or what He allowed to happen, بِإِذْنِهِ الْكَوْنِ الْقَدَرِ. What Allah allowed to happen by what He wanted as far as in this existence, and what He predetermined and destined of what He allows to happen in this world or in this existence of good and evil. Is it clear what I'm saying? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is refuting them, that nullifying their belief in bad omens, and them ascribing it to Musa and his followers and his people, and saying, your omen that you believe, the meaning of the ayah is that it happened by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pre-divine decree and His determination. of what happens to the creation of good and evil, and all those affairs return back to him subhanahu jalla fil ula. Is it clear? That's what we talked about last class. Is it not clear? Is it clear? Is it not clear? So we said, to summarize what we mentioned, we want to keep it concise. This is a lot more details, but we keep it like that. For verily that was the meaning of the ayah, and it was from the examples that are in the Quran, which cannot be counted, to so many refutations against falsehood in the Quran. So many refutations. Keep in mind always, the Quran is filled with refutations against falsehood. Filled. So many of ideologies of refuting the mushrikun, the munafiqun, the kufr, shirk, to the end of it. Falsehood, ba'ta, shubahat, you name it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down an ayah refuting it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laid down the asl of refutations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, وَلَا يَأْتُونَكَ بِمَثَلٍ إِلَّا جِئْنَاكَ بِالْحَقِّ وَأَحْسَنَ تَفْسِيرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book that we do not bring anything of an example which is a falsehood, except that we bring the truth. And we bring the best of explanations. Meaning to nullify their falsehood. So many ayats. But anyway, just to sum it up and keep it clear, I want to branch off from that. So that the meaning of this ayah, which is a sort of Al-A'raf, everyone, is what? Allah Ta'ala is saying that all the evil of what they believe, number one is nullifying the belief in evil omens. It's not for one to believe in evil omens. And as we said last class, an evil omen means something that is either heard, seen, or what is known. Of a time, a place, and even if it's people. And even if it's people. That's what we mentioned last class. So we said the first ayah, Surah Al-A'raf, was saying that all these affairs takes place by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. What type of permission? What they call idhn Allah al-qadri al-kawni. The permission of Allah in His existence and in His what? In His predetermination or divine decree. As we know. The second type is what they call idhn Allah al-shar'i. The permission of Allah in His book and His sunnah. Where all of it is considered khair. All of it is considered good. As far as what takes place in this existence, by the permission of Allah, and what He predetermines, and what He allows to happen, it could be either good or evil. But all of it happens by the permission of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not allow any good or evil to happen in this existence, except it's from the aspect, or min bab al-hikmah, from His infinite wisdom, and what He allows to happen, of some wisdom He knows and we do not know. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. The second ayah that if you notice in your books, as we talked about Surah Yasin, it says, قَالُوا طَائِرُكُمْ مَعَكُمْ لَإِنْ ذُكِّرْتُمْ بَلْ أَنْتُمْ قَوْمٌ مُسْرِفُونَ. Same ayah, what happened with the people of Musa. So you notice this was a satanic belief of the people of Jahiliyyah. For the people of pre-Islamic ignorance, that this was an affair, as they say, مِمَّا عَمَّ بِهِ الْبَلْوَى. This was an affair where the people had beliefs or corrupted ideologies that had been widespread in different times and different places. From them was the time of Musa, and here was another time in another place with another people, with the two individuals who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent. And it says in the same ayah, وَعَزَّزْنَاهُ بِثَالِثٍ, that we strengthened those two messengers with a third. The same belief what happened with Fir'aun is what happened with them. As we talked about last class, that their people blame those messengers of bringing some type of evil upon them. Meaning there's no people like you that come to us, prophets and messengers or people of the truth, it's like something bad always happens to them. So they deemed them and it said, Verily, تَطَيَّرْنَا بِكُمْ, that we consider you to be a bad omen against us. Then they rebutted them. with their belief, where the messengers themselves came with a rad. They came with a refutation against their what? Their ambiguity, or their falsehood that they were upon. They rebutted them by saying to them what? Ta'irukum ma'akum. That your ta'ir, or your belief of you believing that we're a bad omen, we're the one that brings the evil to you. Rather, we're the ones that's bringing the barakah to you. We're the one that's bringing the blessing and the bounty of Allah Ta'ala if you was to embrace the truth. However, notice it says in the ayat, Ta'irukum ma'akum. Your belief in your so-called bad omens is with you. Rather, you are people who are transgressing the bounds. Transgressing the bounds, how, everyone? By their belief in evil omens, superstitions, what have you. Because that's a type of what? Transgressing the bounds. It's a type of israf. As we know, the meaning israf in the Arabic language means tajawuz al-had. Means tajawuz al-had. Transgressing the bounds. طيب. As we said to sum up last class, we said the first ayah, Surah Al-A'raf, is saying that all the affairs happen and return back to Allah. Of what happens of good and evil in this existence. All of that happens by Allah's permission. Even though at the same time, we still have the choice. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? But everything in this existence happens by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. And that ultimately is what the ayah in Surah Al-A'raf is what? Establishing. The second ayah, as we talked about, is establishing what? That the affair is due to our actions. Saying that we are the reason of certain affairs happen. We're the sabab. That we are the reasons of why certain things happen. Meaning, if the ibad was to perform out of righteousness, it will be a reason for the barakah. It will be a reason for Allah opening up the blessings of the heavens and the earth and it descending upon the people. Just as the opposite. That the reason for evil, the sabab, the reason is for the disobedience of the servants of Allah and their wrongdoing and their evil doing. And their sins do they commit. As a result of it, what comes upon them? What? Reprehensible matters such as different types of devastation or destruction or catastrophes that happen as a result of the disobedience of the people and them belying and rejecting the truth. What comes as a result of that? What does that bring upon the people except the anger of Allah Ta'ala and His punishment and the dissension of humiliation, disgrace. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So the second ayat is speaking about what? About the reasons for why these affairs happen. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Even if you read in Shaykh Abdurrahman ibn Hassan al-Shaykh that he mentions, it says the exact same thing. He said the ayah where it says about the village that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent two messengers and He strengthened them with a third. He said that the meaning of the ayah, he said, Wallahu a'lam, حظكم وما نائبكم من شر معكم بسبب أفعالكم وكفركم ومخالفتكم الناصحين. He said that the meaning of the ayah is saying that your ta'ir, that your omen is with you. That is because of what? It is because of you, and this is because of what you earn, and that the evil is with you because of your actions and your disbelief and your opposition to those who advised you. Not because of us, meaning the prophets and messengers who came, nor is it because of us. He says, بَلْ بِبَغِيكُمْ وَعُدْوَانِكُمْ فَطَائِلُ الْبَاغِيَ الظَّالِمَ to the end of it. He said, because of your transgression and the omen of so-called of the one who's unjust and oppressive is with him. So, because of the evil, this is the reason of what caused and what made you attain what you're in of evil. And that is still by the preordainment and divine decree of Allah and His wisdom and His absolute perfect justice. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. طيب. That's the first meaning of the ayat which is in Surah Yasin. That's the first meaning. There's another meaning in Surah Yasin when they came with that reply against them where they said, طَائِرُكُمْ مَعَكُمْ, that your omen is with you. They say that the second meaning is, number two, are you writing this down? Number two is that your omen will be against you. طَائِرُكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ يَعُودُ عَلَيْكُمْ, that your omen is against you. And that what took place, or what took place to you, and what you said about us, now it's returning against you. Meaning that aspect of what was a repercussion. As a result of what they ascribed to, what came as a result of it, of evil falling upon them, it returned back to them. So that is from one of the meaning, or that is two meanings of what the ayah is establishing here in this particular context. This is the meaning of the ayah. Number one is either what? Them saying that your ta'ir or your omen is with you. Well, number one, what does it mean? Because of your actions, the sabab. Number two is that it either means that these affairs that is going to now return and fall back on you. Ya'udu alaykum. That it returns and it falls back on what? On you. طيب. So that's in summary what we mentioned last class. There's a little bit more details than that, but we'll keep it like that because we don't want to get too deep where we confuse the people. طيب. The next hadith is where we started last class. On the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال عدوى لا عدوى عفوا لا عدوى ولا طيرة ولا هامة ولا صفر. وفي رواية ولا نوء ولا غول ولا غول ولا غول. On the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, I forgot my book. I'll get it later. On the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there is no contagious disease, or there's no contagious sickness. La adwa. How do they translate in your books out of curiosity? What do they translate? Adwa? They don't translate it? There's no adwa. There's no adwa. No, la adwa means there is no contagious disease, or there's no contagious sickness. That's what adwa is. الذي يعدي ينتقل من مصح إلى من صحيح إلى مريض. الذي ينتقل الداء أو المرض الذي ينتقل من مريض إلى صحيح. Adwa means a sickness that moves. I mean a contagious sickness that's transmitted from the one who's sick to the what? To the one who is healthy. That's just what it means. That's what it means adwa. They didn't translate it at all in your books. It just said la adwa. Well, that's the meaning of adwa. Adwa means contagious sickness. Contagious. That's transmitted. طيب. We'll talk about the meaning of it as we talked about last class. So the Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَا طِيَرَةٍ, there is no evil omens. And there's no hamma, and there's no safar. In another narration, which is Sahih Muslim, there's no star, and we'll talk about that, don't worry. And there's no ghul, there's no ghoul, which means a demon or jinn. And I wouldn't be surprised if the non-Muslims took this from the Muslims. The word ghul, ghoul. As in English they say that, ghoul, means demon, which in actuality means jinn, means the jinn. So it's a lot of words that were taken from the Arab that was adopted even in English. For example, sponge. Sponge is originally from Arabic, safinja. Safinj or safinja. It was used during the times of old. And even the word algebra, it's from the Muslims. It comes from the word al-jabr. It's a lot of words that were stolen and took it from the Muslims, but the non-Muslims like to take credit for it. But anyway, as it says in the narration, وَلَا نَوْءَ وَلَا غُولٌ, there's no star, we'll talk about that, and there's no ghul. No ghul. Ghul means ghoul. No demon, no jinn. We'll talk about that, the meaning of it. It's not negating the existence. It's not negating that. It's negating a belief. It's negating a belief, a corruptibility. And that's what we're going to speak about now. So the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he mentioned these affairs, number one, there's a great al-alama, Fadilat al-Walid, Ubayd ibn Abdullah ibn Sulaiman al-Jabiri, Hafidhullah, wa ra'ah, is one of my fathers. Like I said, I'm proud to say it's one of my fathers. Fadilat al-Walid, where he said, Hafidhullah wa ra'ah, he said in the first part of the hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is negating a belief from the affairs of Jahiliyyah in this hadith. He's negating, from the first aspect of this narration Abu Hurairah, he's negating a beliefs of what the people of Jahiliyyah used to believe. People of Jahiliyyah used to believe. From them is, number one, La Adwa. La Adwa. That they used to negate transmitted disease. Does it mean they used to negate it? No. They used to affirm it. Rather, they had an evil belief where they used to say, يَنْتَقِلْ أو يُعْدِي بِطَبْعِهِ. You'll find, for example, Imam al-Bayhaqi, and the great Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, and Ibn al-Salah, Ibn Rajab, and the great Imam Ibn Muflih al-Hanbali, that he said that this negation here is negating and refuting and rebuttaling again. Because every opportunity we want to bring, brothers and sisters, because there's a lot of callers out there, especially on YouTube, so many now, that you'll never find that they talk about affairs that's establishing haqq and refuting batil. They don't want to touch on those affairs because they think in their mind that's going to what? Bring some type of so-called division, or I'm going to hurt someone's feelings. We want to now make sure that we bring love to everyone. That everyone loves each other, even if it's in the name of falsehood. But we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. So we don't want to touch on affairs that's going to so-called bring a split. Rather, we touch on affairs that's, in most cases, non-controversial. That everybody basically will accept. For example, treating of good family ties, and keeping the family ties, and people calling over to what? Be hospitable. And those affairs, nobody's going to disagree in. Everybody's going to agree in, and nobody's going to be in the uproar about. What's going to be in the uproar is when you're now talking about shirk and bid'ah, when you're talking about shirk and tawheed. When you start now speaking about those matters and speaking in detail, that's what's now going to so-called cause the split. But in actuality, it's not a split. It's what they call tatheer. It's your purifying the ranks. The Kitaab and Sunnah did come. As the great Imam said a profound statement, Muhammad Ahmad Jami. He said, Al-Kitab Sunnah ja'a liyufarriq bayna al-nas. لأنه فرقان ولكن فرق بين الحق وأهله والباطل وأهله. He said that the Kitab and Sunnah did come to separate between the people. That's why it's called the Furqan. Yufarriq. It's called the criteria. It separates between truth in its people and falsehood in its people. It didn't came to unite them. Came to separate them and make them clear. So you can embark upon the path of the people of paradise, just as there's a path and a method of the people what? The hellfire. And it has to be known, it has to be made clear. And what's their beliefs, and what's their conviction, and what's their usul? What's their foundation? What's their principles? We have to know all of that, so you can stay clear of it. So that's the reason why you'll find in these narrations, the message of Allah clearly is laying down what? Is establishing and making clear falsehood. Number one, and especially in this hadith here. It's another refutation. The message of Allah is refuting falsehood here. He's talking about affairs of shirk and polytheism here, and what? And negating it, refuting it, rebuttaling it, making it clear to the people. Prophet ﷺ said, let's not talk about these affairs because it might cause somebody's feelings to get hurt, and we want to keep the people coming to the masjid to give us money. To keep my check nice. One of those people, as I find, and just as a side point, I'm not going to get back to Kitaab At-Tawheed. There's another person out there now, his name is Mufti Mank. The Mufti Mank, and the people have to be very on guard against this individual. He will never touch on these affairs. Ever. What I'm speaking about now, find all the 100 lectures that he's talking about, he never talks about shirk, tawheed and shirk. And his name is not, and I would never call him Mufti. His name is Ismail. Who made him a Mufti in the first place? And on top of that, you'll find that the people who made him a Mufti, I would not be surprised if that the non-Muslims or the kuffar funded him to come into Muslims and weaken them more by coming in with these false principles and beliefs. And he's also funded by the Deobandis. You'll find that. If you find that in the history, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But you'll find that he's from these type of people that would never touch on these affairs. Never. Never discuss them. Never discussing about what's Kitaab, or what's Tawheed, what's Shirk, what's Sunnah, what's Bid'ah, who's their people, who's the signs, what's their belief systems. Never speaking on those matters. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That's how you know this individual is like what they call, as Ibn al-Qayyim said, Kashaytan al-Akhras. He's like a silent devil that never wants to speak the truth, and never wants to what? And never wants to establish falsehood, to nullify it. And then we know that Shaitan had talked about, as Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned, it says, As-sakin ala al-haq ka-shaytan al-akhras. The one who remains silent from the truth is like a what? It's like a silent devil. For the one who does this talk about Tawheed and Shirk and Sunnah and Bid'ah, making it clear to the people, is like a silent devil. And this individual, Mufti Ismail Mank, is from this type of people. He's from those type of what? Those type of people that would never touch and discuss these matters. Is it clear what I'm saying? Do not call him Mufti. Well, I think he's Muftari. It's awla an yatasamma bil Muftari. Mank. The fabricator. Mank. If you want to say Mufti, بزيادة التاء وراء تضيفهما إلى اسمه. Muftari. Mank. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Also, these type of people will never speak on these affairs. You'll find that the Prophet ﷺ here is negating and he's rebuttaling affairs of polytheism clearly in this hadith. And touching on the affairs of Jahiliyyah, of what will be harmful upon the servant in this world and the hereafter, where the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, what, everyone? He said, there's no transmittive disease, or there's no what? Contagious sickness. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ is saying, as Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Rajab that he mentioned, says, the Prophet ﷺ here is negating the belief of the affairs of Jahiliyyah, or the people and their belief of the people of Jahiliyyah. That's what he's negating. So he's not negating what? That there's not a transmitted disease. That's not what the Messenger of Allah is negating. He's negating the belief of the people of Jahiliyyah. What was the people of Jahiliyyah? What was their belief? They would ascribe that the sickness is to other than Allah Ta'ala, whereas the sickness affects itself, not Allah. Is it clear what I'm saying or not? That the sickness is the thing that affects. It does not happen by Allah's permission. Meaning it does not move by Allah's permission, or it's not transmitted by Allah's permission, or it's not contagious by Allah's permission. They negated that in the affairs of Jahiliyyah. As a people of Ahl al-Islam, Ahl al-Iman, what do we believe? There's nothing that moves of a sickness except by that happens or is transmitted or moves by Allah's permission. That's the meaning. أن المرض يعتدي لا يعتدي بنفسه ولا يعتدي بطبعه ولكن يعتدي بإذن الله وقضائه وقدره. That the people of Jahiliyyah, their belief was what? That the sickness affects itself. It transmits itself. Has nothing to do with Allah's divine decree or His power. Rather, the sickness affects by its natural innate disposition of what it is. Has nothing, no power by anyone, or anyone controls it. That was the belief of the people of Jahiliyyah. You writing this down or not? Is it clear what I'm saying or not? They say that these affairs that they take place by the sickness itself, meaning the sickness is the one by its natural innate nature, it affects, it's transmitted, and what? And it contaminates or moves from one person to the next, meaning by its own nature in itself, but it has nothing to do with Allah. Allah is not in control. That was the belief of the people of Jahiliyyah. Is it clear or is it not clear? Is it clear or is it not clear? واضح ليس بواضح. طيب. So that is what the Prophet ﷺ is negating here. So he's saying that لا عدوى يؤثر بنفسه ولكن يحصل بقضاء الله وقدره وينتقل بقضاء الله وقدره. So we're saying that this happens by Allah's permission and by what He predetermines and decrees. If Allah wants, Allah will allow the sickness to be transmitted and contagious, where it will move from one person to the next. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He preordained the results, meaning what will take place of the sickness moving, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also commanded us to what? Take the reasons for precaution, or the precautionary measures. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? No one have a 0-degree weather and is going to wear shorts outside and say, I'm putting my trust in Allah. You understand? Everyone, 0 degrees, and I'm going outside my shorts and my shirt, and I'll put my trust in Allah Ta'ala. And khalas. If you want to do that, هذا وشأنك. That's your business. But like we said, the affairs not only are happening by Allah Ta'ala's permission and by His divine decree and His qadr, however, we've still been commanded to take the what? The asbab, the precautionary measures for these affairs. Even though, as we're going to talk about what Hafid bin Hajar mentioned, he said still, at the end of the day, if the abd, if his iman is qawi, strong, then the affairs or anything has been predetermined or decreed of harm will not touch the individual, especially if it's during certain occasions, such as what will be a general benefit of establishing the truth and nullifying falsehood, similar to what happened at the hands of the prophets and the messengers and some of the righteous. For example, what happened to Ibrahim, where he was tossed in fire? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it what? The opposite. We have times and stories what happened with the Sahaba. The fi'l al-asbab is to take a boat across the what? Across the sea. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nullified the asbab and allowed them to walk on top of it. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? It comes in the stories in Ibn Kathir and Bidayah wa Nihayah. It's in there. It's in there. It's a known story. It's established. Even if Shaykh al-Islam mentioned it in Al-Aqidat al-Wasitiyya, it's in there. He gave an example from what they call the Karamat al-Awliya, al-Salihin, wa al-Hadith, wa al-Mu'taqad al-Sahih. You'll find Shaykh al-Islam and you'll find Ahl-Ilm bring these examples in the chapter of Al-Aqidat al-Wasitiyya, in the chapter of what they call Bab Karamat al-Awliya. The events, we want to call them miracles, but things that went against the ordinary that happened at the hands of the righteous, of the people who are upon the correct creed. And these are from the examples that happened with Abu Muslim al-Khawlani and other than them from the Sahaba, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nullified the sabab, nullified the reason of certain affairs in order for it to be an aid for the people, the truth, or nullifying falsehood, or ibtal al-batil, because it was for maslaha amma, for a general benefit for the people, where they were aided in the times of jihad or what have you. I'm going to read that, don't worry, it's going to come. So the point of the matter is, if a person's iman is strong, then ultimately, like we said, even if he was to be amongst certain affairs or sicknesses, and he knows ultimately the affairs happen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission, then still he will not be affected. Especially if it's in the circumstances of what will be a benefit of establishing the truth and aid for the people of the truth. Is it clear what I'm saying or not? However, still, you've been commanded in certain situations to take the reasons and the precautionary measures. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. Because there's ahadith, the narrations, where the Prophet ﷺ, where it's authentic narrations where it says, لا يريد الممرض على المصح. It's authentic. That a person who's sick should not try to now transmit his sickness to the one who's healthy. It's a narration, it's authentic. Another narration, إذا سمعتم بطاعون يعني إذا سمعتم بأرض فيها طاعون فلا تدخلوها وإذا أنتم فيها فلا تخرجوا منها. There's a narration of the Prophet ﷺ said, if you see or hear that there's a land, in it is a ta'un. If you're here and you're in a land, or if you hear that there's a land, that there's a what? There's some type of ta'un, that there's a plague in that land, do not enter it. And if you are in it, and it's what? And it's there, do not what? Leave out. لا تخرجوا منها. All those are narrations which indicates what? Indications that leads us to that is legislated, what they call اتخاذ الأسباب. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. Also the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, فِرَّ مِنَ الْمَجْذُومِ كَفِرَارِكَ مِنَ الْأَسَدِ. Flee away from the one who's majzoom, from judham, from the one who's been plagued with the sickness of scabs. They call it mange or scabby mange or scabs. The sickness is called scabs. The scabs form on your body. He says, flee from it, just as you flee from a ferocious lion. All these narrations are what? Authentic. So how do we gather between all these narrations and the narration here in Kitaab At-Tawheed, where the Imam Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahab mentioned the hadith of Abu Hurairah? Except that you'll find that they will say for the reason that some of Ahl Ilm saying that is from what they call from Bab al-Nasikh wal-Mansukh. That some of these narrations have been what? Abrogated. Which is not what? Which is not the correct position. As we know from the qawaid and usul and in fiqh, لا يصار إلى النسخ إلا إذا لم يمكن الجمع. لا يصار إلى النسخ إذا لم يمكن الجمع. والجمع هنا في هذا الموضع إيش؟ ممكن. والجمع هنا ممكن. As we know, naskh or abrogation, one does not resort to it if one cannot gather between the authentic narrations. And here, gather between it is possible here. So we say that naskh or abrogation here is not what's the correct position. Is it clear what I'm saying or not? لا يصار إلى النسخ إلا إذا لم يمكن الجمع والجمع هنا ممكن. So like we said, it's not resorted to naskh unless you're not able to gather between the narrations, and us gathering between the narration here is what? It's possible. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? طيب. So what's the jama'? ما وجه الجمع بين هذه الروايات? How do we gather between all these narrations, everyone? We gather between these narrations by saying that the Prophet ﷺ, of course, was saying that these affairs of Jahiliyyah does not take place by itself, meaning that is the thing that what? That causes it all, at all. Rather, the Messenger of Allah was negating that these affairs have any effect, meaning that they're the ones that affect. And it's not a law, of course. That's what we mentioned, right, everyone? That these affairs affect by itself, by its own nature, meaning the affairs of transmitted diseases. That they're the ones that actually affect. And that has nothing to do with the qada of Allah or His permission or what have you. So that's what the Messenger of Allah is rebutting. So the Messenger of Allah is affirming that a person connects his heart with Allah, where he ultimately puts his trust in him fully. So you'll find in this chapter, if you find in an indirect way, is as if it's saying that one has full reliance on Allah. And his heart is not connected with these affairs. And that one has full reliability and reliance in him ta'ala completely. And that the Messenger of Allah was nullifying these affairs in order for the people's hearts to be connected fully with Allah. And not connected with the affairs of Jahiliyyah, where the people used to believe that these affairs had total effect and total power, and it had no connection with it happening by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. Is it clear what I'm saying? Taib. So what about the narrations that tell us don't go to a land that has a plague in it and not to enter it to the end of it? Taib. That one, or those narrations, is the narrations commanded us to still take the what? The asbab. The narrations that is legislated for us to take, as they say, the precautionary measures in the means of protecting yourself. Without it leading to the level, of course, to paranoia. When a person becomes paranoid. That is when you know, find which one's tawakkul is what? Is weak, especially if it reaches the level where one is just paranoid. Person comes in the room, everyone's coughing. You spray Lysol, what have you. And then everything's got a mask on, it has a protective gloves on to the end of it. Okay, we know, like we said, taking the precautionary measures is legislated. But do not let it reach the level of paranoia. Or waswasa. Or hajis or hawajis. Where it exceeds the bounds now. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Spray your room with Lysol, spray your car with Lysol, clean it. Nobody's saying do not leave it dirty or what have you. Nobody's saying that. Clean it. Take the reasons of precautionary measures to what? Protect yourself. But at the same time, we have to believe that these are the what? The means. At the same time, your heart is still connected with Allah. Your trust is in Him, subhanahu. Is it clear what I'm saying? So that is the jama' you've gathered between all these narrations. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Taib. In these narrations in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, as we said, number one, as Shaykh Ubayd mentioned, Hafidullah wa ra'ah. He said that the Prophet ﷺ was negating the beliefs of Jahiliyyah and everything that was mentioned in this narration. For example, like he said, there's no transmittive disease that moves by itself. Meaning, it happens by what? The permission of Allah. So that's what the Messenger of Allah is negating here. The belief of the people of Jahiliyyah. What about tiyara? There's no tiyara. There's no evil omens. Meaning there's no evil omens that will what? Have any effect upon you. Because these are also from the beliefs of the people of what? Jahiliyyah. That they used to believe in evil omens. And they used to have a major impact on their lives. Used to have a major impact upon their lives. And when they would set out to do something, either of benefit, or what they would not set out to do, when they would what? Refrain as a result of seeing something or hearing something. Or it being a particular time, particular place. Or hearing something. Or seeing something. There's a lot of affairs of Jahiliyyah that they used to believe. For example, if they seen, like we said, if they seen a person had hollered out to him, Ya Khasir, Ya Da'i', Ya Khayba, or Ya Kha'ib, لن تنال خيرا قط اليوم. لن تنال خيرا قط اليوم. An old person that's going to be what? That's going to fail. Or if they heard someone that holler out to them, Ya Khasir, or the one who's going to lose. You're not going to have any good today. During the times of Jahiliyyah, if they heard that someone would say that to them, they would go back in the house, shut their door, and wouldn't go out. Or, for example, if they heard the noises of certain birds, as we're going to talk about, what the Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَا هَامَ, or certain birds, or certain chirps, or what have you. Or, if they seen a certain color, some of them used to find evil omens if they seen a certain color. Or if a person would pass by them. A person who only could see out of one eye, if they seen him and looked at him, that means I'm not going to have a prosperous day or productive day. There's a lot of affairs of Jahiliyyah. It's too many. I can't even mention all of them. As we talked about this, I'm just giving an example to get clarity. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? As he's saying, بِضَرْبِ الْأَمْثَالِ يَتَّضِحُ بِهَا الْمَقَالِ. As we know by setting and striking numerous examples, what we're trying to teach here becomes clear. So we're just giving numerous examples. So either by animals, or by dates, or by years, or by the month, to the end of it. So the message of Allah was negating evil omens. Is he saying they don't exist? No, he's saying the belief that they don't have any effect on your life. They don't have any effect. Rather, they're from these satanic beliefs of the people of Jahiliyyah, from the time of Musa, and from the time in which we know the ayat which happened with the people of Surah Yasin, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent them those messages to the qaryah, to the village. And those are from the affairs and the beliefs of the people of Jahiliyyah. They used to believe in omens and myths. So the message of Allah did mention, it said, what everyone? He said, La hamma, no hamma. As the meaning of hamma has a lot of meanings. One of the meanings of hamma is that it used to be the meaning, some of them say it is a booma, it is an owl. Some of them say it's other than an owl. It means another type of bird. But a lot of them say that the meaning of it is al-booma, an owl. Al-booma. Some of them say that the meaning of it is al-booma. Some of them say it's other than booma. It's other than an owl. Some of them say it is the owl. Some of them say it's another bird. But a lot of them say it is a bird called the owl. So is the message of Allah negating that there's no owl? No. He's negating here what? The belief in it. Or the belief that the people of Jahiliyyah, the people of pre-Islamic ignorance, that they have towards the owl or any other bird. Like for example, the belief that the bird would scream, or any other bird. They used to have a lot of beliefs. As we talked about, this was something that was prevalent with the birds. Either how they would fly in different directions, or if they would hear certain sounds from certain types, or at the end of a night, if they heard the bird, or especially the owl, that it landed upon the house of one of them, they would believe that if the owl landed upon their house and it made that noise, that means that one of the relatives, either the person that heard it, was going to die. That was an indication that he was about to what? He was about to die. That was from the beliefs of the people of Jahiliyyah, from the meaning of hamma. So they would hear the noise of the owl, and the person that heard it would think that what? That he was about to die. Or from their beliefs is that they used to believe سَيَمُوتُ أَحَدُ أَقَارِبِ or أَحَدُ أَهْلِ دِيَارِهِ. That they used to believe that, meaning someone in their house was going to die soon. Or they used to believe that the owl, if a person was killed or murdered, that he would come back in the form of the owl until revenge or retribution was taken for that person. Meaning about the killer, from the killer who actually murdered him. Until vengeance was what? Took him back for the one who was killed. Meaning that they found a murderer and that they what? That they established justice upon him. That was from the other affairs of Jahiliyyah. So and the fourth one, they used to believe that they used to say that the owl, that the actual ruh, the ruh of the qatil, ruh al-qatil qad dakhala fi. Qad dakhala fil booma. That they used to say that the spirit of the one who was killed actually entered in the owl itself. So these were the type of beliefs of Jahiliyyah that they used to believe, which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ came and totally what? Totally annihilated. And totally what? Eradicated. Destroyed it. Removed it. That all these affairs are affairs of Jahiliyyah that no one should believe. They have no effect. No one should believe in none of this. So the meaning of hamma, I'll say it again. Number one, they used to say that if it could be a bird, it could mean an owl other than an owl. But if it's the owl, that they said that it would scream at the end of the night. They would come at the end of the night, because usually they will say that the boom of the owl comes at the night, or at the end of the night. And if it landed on one's house, or one's home, and if the person heard it, they would say, or na'at ilayya nafsi. Or na'at, meaning that it made na'yun, a na'i. Na'i meaning that it is announced the death of the person. As we know, the word na'i in the Arabic language means like to holler off of that someone is what? Died. It means a na'i. But at any rate, it says in the narration, na'at ilayya nafsi. That the owl, when I heard the voice of it, is now calling out, screaming out my what? The announcement of my what? My death. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? So they would say that mean that the person was going to what? Actually die. Or they used to have the beliefs of Jahiliyyah that it used to be what? That one of their family members in the house was going to what? Or they used to have the belief that the owl, that the person actually came back in the form of the what? The person who was murdered. And al-qatil, لما قتل صارت عظامه البومة وصارت عظامه وجسده بومة. That you'll find that his bones, or he became actually a what? The owl. And that he stayed in that form until retribution was, or revenge was taken for him from the killer. Is it clear what I'm saying? Or they used to believe that the actual spirit of the one who was killed and murdered actually what? Entered inside of the what? Inside of the owl. So the Prophet ﷺ came and nullified all these beliefs, saying that they have no reality. It's all baseless. And none of these affairs should have any control over your life. You should have no control over your life. The Prophet ﷺ did mention what they call safar. He said there's no safar. We know there's a month of what? Safar. What was the meaning of safar? We said during the time of safar that they used to have a lot of beliefs in evil omens in the month of safar. Some of them say that the meaning was during the time of safar. That's a weak opinion. I don't want to say that right now. That during the time of Jahiliyyah, what's the strongest opinion is that they used to believe in a lot of bad omens during this month. And they used to say that it was a shahrun mash'um, that it was a month in which a lot of evil takes place. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ nullified this. And he said that to have the evil omen, or the belief that evil affairs or evil matters has something detrimental upon one's life takes place, especially in safar, that is from the affairs of Jahiliyyah. For example, from Ahl Ilm, from other sources, from when I was reading, this is years ago, that from the affairs of Jahiliyyah and Safar, they didn't used to travel in the month of Safar. That they would refrain from traveling in the month of Safar. Or the last Wednesday in the month of Safar, they would say, for example, a superstition, such as some of the stuff you hear, you just be like, wow, the stuff that we used to believe, right? They say, كانوا يمنعون ويتوقفون عن كنس البيت لأنك إذا كنست في هذا اليوم يدلك على أنك يمحو أهلك. You'll find at the end of the month of what they call the last Wednesday, Yom al-Arbi'a. Yom al-Arbi'a is Wednesday, right? On the last Wednesday of the month of Safar, that they used to refrain from sweeping the house, or cleaning a house or sweeping it. Because they used to say that that would indicate that you're cleaning up, or you're going to clean up your family, or you're going to cause them to be wiped out. You understand? You understand, everyone? For all those affairs, the Prophet ﷺ removed in the month of Safar. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ even removed the affairs of the evil omens during the time of Shawwal also. That was another month that they used to also deem a lot of evil almost happening. So it wasn't just in the month of Safar, it was also in the month of what? Shawwal. I said Sha'ban last class, that was a mistake. I meant to say Shawwal. Shawwal. And you'll find that the Arab, during the times of Jahiliyyah, they used to refrain from nikah, from getting married in these months, like Safar or Shawwal. They wouldn't marry in these months. So they would say it's a Shahrun Mash'um. It's an evil month. It's an evil time. Don't get married in this month. In the month of Safar or the month of Shawwal. Shawwal, not Sha'ban, everyone. Shawwal. And for that reason, I said, if you notice in the narration, the Prophet ﷺ married Aisha when? He married her in Shawwal. In order to what? Nullify the belief that one should not get married in the month of what? Shawwal. So the Prophet ﷺ nullified that batil and established the haqq by him marrying our mother Aisha radiallahu anha ardaha in the month of Shawwal. So that was the message of Allah was mentioning here. To say that there's no specific time where you should have these beliefs and that they have any effect on your life. Also, the last part is Imam Muslim that he mentioned in the narration. There's no star. That's going to come in the next chapter. If you flip the page, that's going to come. Next chapter. The meaning of there's no star. The last part is it says, wala ghul. Wala ghul, there's no ghoul, there's no demon. The meaning of the demon here is what, everyone? That there's no jan. Meaning, the Prophet ﷺ was negating here and refuting and rebuttaling the belief of Jahiliyyah. Meaning of what the people used to do in regards to the jinn. Where they would seek refuge in them, and where they would rely upon them, and they would make dua to them, and seek refuge in them. And as a result of it, that we know that the jinn used to increase them in more fear and more horror and fright when they sought refuge in them. So that was the meaning of ghul. Except that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had commanded us to recite those. Of course, we know the ayats of the Book of Allah, and those are different type of narrations which shows to seek refuge in Allah to be with Allah, and which would be precaution, or which would be a type of fortification to protect oneself from the harm of the jinn. Because we know that the jinn, in certain times, especially during the times of Jahiliyyah, that they used to instill horror and to frighten people when they would set out on their travels and journeys. They used to turn colors, and they used to make sounds to instill horror and frighten the people. And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, of course, taught the different types of narrations in which one can utilize in order for him to fortify himself with from the harm of the jinn. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? As we know, the ayat, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ was clear. It's a lot of them. For example, the hadith of Khawla bint Hakim. The Prophet ﷺ, من إذا نزل العبد منزلا فيقول أعوذ بكلمات الله تامات بشر ما خلق ثلاثا فلا يضره شيء حتى يرتحل من منزله ذلك. To end the narration. The Prophet ﷺ said, من نزل منزلا فيقول أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق ثلاثا فلا يضره شيء حتى يرتحل من منزله ذلك. The hadith of Khawla bint Hakim, which is Bukhari Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever descends in a desolate place, it says, I seek refuge in the perfect words of Allah to be with Allah from the evil He created 3 times. He said, nothing will harm him until he departs from that place of his. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? And other than that, from the different types of supplications that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ legislated for one to be protected by the what? From the jinn or the harm of the creation. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's the meaning of the narration saying La ghul. The Prophet ﷺ is not negating that there isn't demons or there isn't jinn. There is. They do exist. But however, the Messenger of Allah was negating a belief of the affairs of Jahiliyyah, of which they used to seek refuge in the jinn and make dua to them, supplicate to them, or rely upon them. And as a result of them, the jinn used to, as a result of it, will harm them or instill fear and frighten them. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So this is what we mentioned, and if you look into the books of what we mentioned, I kind of summed up everything for you guys, which is pages. I kind of summed everything up for you. Just summarize it and made it kind of like what? Kind of short and concise for everyone. There's pages, but that's the summary. That's the summary. طيب, let's read the next narration. طيب, on the authority of Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, who wants to read it for me? Somebody read it for me. اقرأ يا. What do we say? What's the meaning of adwa? There's no contagious disease. It doesn't exist. Is that the meaning? No. So now you guys know the meaning. So some people out there say, Prophet ﷺ says there's no contagious disease. So khalas. You understand? You understand, everyone? طيب. We say that's not the meaning of the hadith. The meaning of the hadith is there's no contagious disease that moves by itself, meaning it happens by the qada and Allah and His qadr. But if you still wanted to shake my hand and you coughed on it, even though my iman is strong, it's not going to have no effect on me at the end of the day. But if you want to take the reasons by not touching, then you can do that. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So that's the meaning. So saying the contagious disease, meaning that the actual disease is not the thing that affects it, meaning itself affects. Rather, it moves by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's what? Qada and qadr. There's a narration I wanted to read quickly before we start on this one, that I wanted to mention quickly, because I'm trying to give you guys the summary. Oh, I'm sorry. طيب, there's a narration, for example, the Messenger of Allah said, إن الرسول لما قال لا عدوى قال رجل يا رسول الله الإبل تكون صحيحة مثل الضباء فيدخلها الجبل الأجرب فتجرب فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فمن أعدى الأول. The hadith is in Bukhari. The narration is authentic. It says, O Messenger of Allah, the Prophet ﷺ, when he said this narration here, you look in your books, there's no contagious sickness, right? There's a man that's called out, O Messenger of Allah, what about al-ibil, the camel, which is healthy? Mithl dhiba, let's talk about another animal that's healthy. He says, in which an animal that's been sick with scabs all over his body, and it's highly, he says, contagious. And he enters upon another one, and the other one becomes what? The other one becomes afflicted with scabs. So the person here is establishing that the sickness did what? It moved. He intermingled or interacted with it. It was in the area. As a result of it, it what? It moved. Fine. Listen to what the Messenger of Allah said here. He said, فَمَنْ أَعْدَى الْأَوَّلِ. Who transmitted it to the first? Meaning the other one, the first one didn't intermingle with anyone. How did he catch it? Who touched it? Nobody. So the Messenger of Allah is saying here that the first one that wasn't afflicted, no one, it wasn't around anyone contaminated. And despite of that, it what? Got sick. So here in this narration, the Messenger of Allah is establishing what? Ultimately, all these affairs happen by what? By the permission of Allah. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone, or not? واضح ليس بواضح. Ultimately, it happened by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. So the Messenger of Allah is establishing the aqeedah here that what? All these affairs happens ultimately by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. And it goes back to Him. But at the same time, so he's establishing this narration that we just mentioned. I don't even mention what Shaykh Uthaymeen mentioned here. It's a benefit. This is what he says. He says, يعني أن المرض نزل على الأول بدون عدوى بل نزل من عند الله عز وجل فكذلك إذا انتقل بالعدوى فقد انتقل بأمر الله. قد يكون له سبب معلوم وقد لا يكون سبب معلوم وقد لا يكون سبب معلوم. فجرب الأول ليس سببه معلوما إلا أنه بتقدير الله، وجرب الذي بعته له سبب معلوم، لكن لو شاء الله تعالى لم يجرب. ولهذا أحيانا تصاب الإبل بالجرب ثم يرتفع ولا تموت، وكذلك الطاعون والكولera, what they call what's the name of the sickness? Cholera disease. What is the name? Cholera. That's it. G. Cholera and all these other types of transmitted diseases. He says it can enter in one's house. It will afflict certain people and they'll die, and certain people will still be alive. I'm going to just read everything he said quickly in English. He said, this hadith here is establishing what we just basically mentioned, summed up. We gave everyone the summary, right, everyone? It says that the sickness here in this narration, which is in Bukhari, the first, but the one who caught scabs, it said it happened without anyone transmitting it. He says, أن المرض نزل على الأول بدون عدوى. It happened and afflicted with the person without anyone transmitting it to it. There wasn't any transmission. He said, rather, it happened and took place from Allah. He says, likewise, it can also what? In the same narration is showing also that it can what? It can be transmitted. Right? He said, فَكَذَلِكَ إِذَا انْتَقَلَ بِالْعَدْوَى, that it can be transmitted. However, it's transmitted by what? By the permission of Allah still. So the first thing happened by Allah's permission, and when it being transmitted, still happened by what? By Allah's permission. He says, with shay, he said for something, it can have a known reason of why it happened, and sometimes there's no what? There's no known reason why it happened. قد يكون له سبب قد لا يكون له سبب. You see clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? He says for the first one was afflicted by scabs. The reason was not known of how he got afflicted, except that it happened by the predetermination, divine decree of Allah. So the scabby mange happened to him by Allah's taqdeer, of course. And the one who became sick, the reason for it moving or being transmitted now is what? Is known. The second part of the hadith. However, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed, even though it intermingled with it, if Allah willed, it still would not have moved. It wouldn't have became what? Sick with the scabs. For sometimes, you'll find that a person the actual camel was afflicted by the scabs, and at the end of the day, if Allah willed, he could be sick for a moment at a time, and then it will what? Go away and be cured. And it won't die. He said, just like there are people out there who was in land or who was afflicted with a plague, such as cholera, which is other type of transmitted sicknesses. He said, it might enter in a house and certain people die from it, and certain people still be what? Still alive and survive. For a reason that's known and for other reasons that's not known. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? This happens every day. We've seen this happen in jobs and people in areas and arenas, people coughing, sniffing. People walk in our area, walk out, nothing ever happens to them. And certain people still get what? Other people still get what? Sick. Happens all the time. At any rate, the great Imam, he goes on to establish to say, he says, so upon this is that one relies upon Allah, ta'ala. And it's incumbent upon him to put his trust in him, subhanahu. And that he should what? That the message of Allah is establishing in all these narrations to tie your heart and your trust in your reliability, or your reliance, with Allah. But at the same time, you still can take the what? You could take precautionary measures. Jayyid? Tayyib. I'm going to reread this narration and we'll stop. Tayyib. So we know now the narration here. وَلَا عَدْوَ وَلَا طِيَرَةٍ وَيُعْجِبُنِي الْفَأَلْ. That's what I was talking about 2 chapters ago. Tayyib. This is where it gets interesting. There's no transmitted disease. We said that the meaning of it here is that there's no transmitted disease that affects, meaning the thing itself, by however it travels and transmitted by the permission of Allah and His what? His divine decree. Jayyid. So that's the meaning. There's no evil omens or belief in evil omens. طيب, the last part. وَيُعْجِبُنِ الْفَأَلْ. طيب, however, a good omen I'm amazed with. Well, I like a good omen. I like a good omen. I like a fa'al. طيب, what is the meaning here? Tafadal Jamar. No. What does it mean? I like a good omen. The Prophet said it clearly. How they translate in your books? Let me hear it. I wonder how they would. Please don't trust me. They didn't translate that either. A good word. طيب. A good word. Notice the message of Allah said this after a tiyarah. So it says if he's trying to connect it, then he gave an exception. Right or wrong? Message of Allah coupled together, and then he gave ثم بعد ذلك استثنى عليه الصلاة والسلام. طيب فما وجه المقارنة بينهما. So the message of Allah said there's no what? There's no omen or evil omen. Then it's as if he connected a good omen with a tiyarah, with the beliefs of evil omens. Then he gave the exception from that. The evil omens with the birds. He said a good omen I'm pleased with. Oh, I like it. How did he translate it again? Good. What does it say? Optimism. J. That's a good key word. I'm glad they put that in there. Even though they didn't translate the word adwa. But that's a good thing. That they put in there optimism. As I said before a couple of classes ago, I said the word fa'al comes from the word yatafa'al, which means in the Arabic language to be optimistic. Yatafa'al. Yatafa'al means to be optimistic. You understand? طيب. Now, hear the message of Allah in the narration here. Notice that the message of Allah actually made a good omen from the aspect of what omens. What is the similarity of the two? The similarity of the two, this is kind of rhetorical. The similarity in the two is this. That at-tiyarah, as we know the definition of it, yashtarik fil masmu'at. Tiyarah, write this down. That we know that that it comprises of affairs that are pertaining to things that are heard. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? Isn't a tiyarah, or bad omens, in regards to affairs that's heard? Masmu'at. Right or wrong? As we know, the definition of a tiyarah is what? التشاؤم بمرئي أو مسموع أو معلوم مكانا أو زمانا أو قد يكون شخصا. Right? We said التشاؤم, that the meaning of a tiyarah is the belief of bad omens and superstitions about something that's heard, seen, or what? Or known, whether it be a time, place, or even a person. Right, everyone? Right or wrong? طيب. Likewise, the similarity to that is a good omen. Good omen is also similar to a bad omen in this regard only, even though they're going to give the extra benefit. Don't worry, just follow me. That a good omen is pertaining to also something that is heard. That's why it says, it's translated in your book as what? A good word. And also something being optimistic. I'm going to explain it. Don't worry. I'm going to explain it. Everybody's looking at me. Don't worry. I'm going to explain. Huh? Got you. طيب. Not only just visiting someone sick, but you do something extra. What do you do? What do you say to them? Come in with a nice smile. Akhi, don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. You're going to be good. Put your trust in Allah. Everything is going to be good. That's a fact. You understand? What did you just do? You just said something. What did they do? They heard it. طيب. The meaning of a good omen here, of what you would translate it as, brothers and sisters, is a person that will come. Let's just say, for example, he comes with a person comes with a nice fragrance. Person is looking nice. Comes visit you. You come in with a nice smile. You say to them, don't worry, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't worry, put your trust in Allah. Everything's going to be fine. You're going to be good. So anything that you do and say of a good word that brings happiness to the individual, or brings, when it seems as if they're in a predicament where it's bringing them anxiety or they're anxious or what have you, and they're stressed, and you say something to them that will make them feel relaxed. That is what the Prophet ﷺ is talking about here. Is it clear what I'm saying or not? Is it clear? So you say, for example, tawakkal ala Allah. For example, you're about to go into the qa'at al-imtihan, the test hall, and get tested, and you're nervous, shaking. So you see your friend of yours, your companion, or a comrade, or a person that's in your class, and you look like he's scared. And you come up to him and say, Akhi, everything is going to be all right. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Put your trust in Allah. You're going to do good. That is what the Prophet ﷺ is talking about here. Is it clear or was it not? So what did you just do? That good word of what you just said, what did you do? You entered and made him what? Relax. After he was stressed. So now you're being optimistic about the situation. You made him optimistic. Is it clear? So you brought some optimism to the situation. So that's the meaning of al-fa'al here. Yu'jibun al-fa'al. That's the meaning of it. Is it clear? It's a little bit more details, but I gave you guys the summary. That's the summary. Ibn al-Qayyim yatawassa' qalilan. It's a great Imam Ibn al-Qayyim. He brings a little bit more details, but as long as you have that little small word I gave you, you understood it. Now, if you want to now branch off a little bit, Ibn al-Qayyim brings, of course, he brings a bahr of examples. Brings a sea of examples. Well, I'll read it quickly. Where Ibn al-Qayyim mentions, it says, he says, the fact that the Prophet ﷺ, that he liked the fa'al, or loving those affairs, is not from shirk. He says, ذلك إنابة عن مقتضى الطبيعة وموجب الفطرة الإنسانية التي تميل إلى ما يوافقها ويلائمها كما أخبرهم. He mentioned, it says that is from the natural disposition of human beings, that they like this, that people would want to do this. If a person is feeling down, let you come and try to cheer him up. Say, don't worry, Akhi, this thing's going to be fine. You're going to do good. So this is what the message of Allah, of what is the natural disposition of human beings, of what themselves, what it agrees with, and what is appropriate, and what the message of Allah informed. He says, as we know that the message of Allah it was given, or was beloved to him of the dunya, women and good smelling fragrances, and other things of what is of honey, and that the message of Allah used to love hearing the voice of the Quran, of a good recitation, and he used to love listening to it, or lessons to listen to one reciting it for him, and good mannerism and good akhlaq, good exemplary character, to the end of it. He says, وَبِالْجُمْلَةِ يُحِبُّ كُلَّ كَمَالٍ وَخَيْرٍ وَمَا يُفْضِي إِلَيْهِمَا وَاللَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ قَدْ جَعَلَ فِي غَرَائِزِ النَّاسِ الْإِعْجَابِ بسماع الاسم الحسن ومحبته. He's given just different examples. He says, generally, he says, we said that every person that they love of affairs that are considered completeness and good, or what will cause it or lead to it. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made in the natural, innate nature of human beings, that they are pleased with things that they hear, for example, of a good name, and loving it, or a person being inclined towards it. And what he's made inside of everyone's self, of what they find glad tidings in, and happiness in. And what will cause and be, inshallah, a reason for prosperity and success. Or what will give glad tidings, or victory, or what have you. So if these type of names are given, of course, then we know that oneself that they give glad tidings by those names. And also their chest will be open and relaxed to it. And the heart will become strong by it. And they said the opposite of that, which has been prohibited, is that which brings the opposite of what we said. Of what will bring happiness, that will bring sadness or grief or terror or horror or fright or negativity or pessimism or what have you. So that is what the message of Allah is mentioning here. So that is the meaning of the narration that I like a fa'l. So number one is that we said that the reason why they're connected with the tiyara is because all of them is something that is what? Heard. Number two, write this down, we'll stop. Number two, this is not in your books. Yeah, number one is number one. They both share what is heard. Number two is from the aspect of similar to incantations. Didn't the Messenger of Allah say certain incantations are what? Permissible, as long as they are not what? Shirk. There's a hadith of the Prophet where he said, "I'ridu alayya ruqakum, la ba'sa bil-ruqa ma lam takun shirka." La ba'sa bil-ruqa ma lam takun shirka. The Prophet said, "Show your incantations to me. There's no problems with incantations as long as it's not what? Shirk. As long as it's not shirk. As long as it's not polytheism." And we know the message of Allah taught the people what is a legislated incantation, what is a what? Prohibited one. Similar to what? Al-Fa'l. Same thing. Fa'l is the same exact thing. Message of Allah taught what is a good fa'l, a good omen in the meaning of it, or something that bring, or be a reason for one being optimistic, as long as it's not what? Polytheism. As long as it's not polytheism. So that is the second of the meaning of the word fa'l here. I'm going to stop here. Don't get too many details. Tafadhal. There was only two. I was only talking about fa'l. The fa'l is of two parts. That's it. Number one is that they share in tiyara as far as what is heard. That's number one. Number two is similar to what? Incantations. Because a person hear ruqya, they be like,